Welcome to the HFY Tales channel. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the story. Enjoy and take care.
The sun hung low in the azure sky of Zelthia, casting a kaleidoscope of colors across the sprawling bioluminescent landscape. Ancient trees, with trunks thicker than a human could wrap their arms around, danced gently in the warm, fragrant breeze. Flourishing vines twined in intricate patterns, hosting blossoms that glowed softly with vibrant hues at twilight. This was a world teeming with life, pulsating with an innate energy that was both intoxicating and overwhelming. Here, humans were merely guests, rubbing shoulders with the natives, a diverse array of species each with unique customs and traditions. Yet the concept of interspecies relationships, especially between humans and Zelthians like the petite yet striking Elizabeth, was still frowned upon. Adrian strode through the bustling marketplace, absorbing the sights and sounds around him. He was a curious human, a scientist by trade, fueled by an insatiable desire to explore the unknown. His dark hair tousled in the gentle breeze, and the excitement sparkled in his hazel eyes. He had always found himself attracted to the extraordinary, drawn to the beauty of the many alien life forms that inhabited his world. But today, his heart raced not only for the flora and fauna he'd studied for years, but for something far more alluring. Elizabeth, his focus, had been a remarkable sight. Standing at just under 4 feet tall with delicate, iridescent skin that shimmered like a million tiny stars, she was an enchanting enigma. Her big, luminous eyes spoke of kindness and wisdom beyond her years, but beneath that exterior lay a swirl of insecurities. As the only one of her kind to pursue scientific research on human biology, Elizabeth often felt the weight of expectations pressing upon her narrow shoulders, unsure if she belonged. As Adrian finally made his way to the conference center to present on interspecies communication, little did he know that destiny awaited him within. In that vibrant marketplace where worlds collided, he was about to lose his heart to a petite alien who believed she was not meant for love, especially not love with a human. The conference hall buzzed with anticipation as attendees flocked to their seats, chattering about the mingling of interspecies ideas. Adrian took a moment to soak it all in, the mix of colors from various alien species, the blend of languages flowing like a melodic symphony, and the palpable excitement in the air. His heart raced, not only from the thrill of potential discoveries but from the lingering thought of meeting Elizabeth. As he settled in, Adrian's attention shifted to the podium, where Elizabeth stood poised, a bundle of nervous energy. Her small stature made her seem even more delicate under the bright lights, but this only accentuated her fire. With a deep breath, she began to speak, her voice a mixture of strength and vulnerability. "Greetings, esteemed friends and allies. Today, I wish to discuss the biological implications of interspecies relationships, specifically between my kind and humans." She glanced up from her notes, and her gaze caught Adrian's, igniting a spark in his chest. The audience listened attentively as Elizabeth elaborated on her research, her passion evident in her animated gestures. Adrian found himself mesmerized by her, noting the way her expressive eyes lit up when she spoke of the bond between beings, human or otherwise. The moment she finished, applause erupted, and Adrian was the first to join in. Their eyes met again, and Elizabeth smiled nervously, her cheeks flushed with a mixture of pride and shyness. After the presentation, the crowd began to disperse, but Adrian felt drawn to Elizabeth, ready to engage. He approached her, introducing himself with the confidence he usually possessed in his lectures but felt waver under her stunning presence. "I was truly inspired by your passion and research. It's fascinating how our differences also contribute to understanding each other better," he murmured, trying to mask his nerves. Elizabeth beamed, her shyness melting away as they fell into easy conversation. They shared stories about their respective worlds, their interests, and their dreams. He discovered her love for nature and the planet's unique ecosystems, and she found his curiosity about alien species equally enchanting. As they spent more time together, Adrian found himself drawn to her more than he had anticipated. The tender moments, the brush of their hands, the shared laughs, felt electric, disarming the doubts they each harbored. After a particularly engaging conversation about family structures, Elizabeth hesitated, her excitement diminishing. She glanced down, unsure how to articulate her deepest fears. "Adrian, do you ever think about compatibility? I mean, Do you think it's even possible for someone like me to have a family with you? I've always felt so small, so narrow. What if I'm not capable of being a mother? The vulnerability in her voice hit Adrian like a punch to the gut. Elizabeth, it's not about how you look or your size. It's about love, respect, and understanding. I believe we could navigate anything together. But her fears lingered, casting a shadow over the budding connection they had formed. Elizabeth smiled but couldn't shake the belief that she might never truly fit the mold of what a family looked like, not in her eyes, not in anyone else's. As they parted ways that day, Adrian couldn't help but think about her words. While he felt an undeniable connection with Elizabeth, the weight of her insecurities tugged at him. That night, under the alien stars, he pondered a question that would ultimately change their lives forever. Did love really transcend the physical and societal boundaries that kept them apart? Days turned into weeks, and Adrian and Elizabeth spent every available moment together. Their discussions evolved from lighthearted banter to profound conversations under the shimmering Zelthian moons. They wandered through the lush glades, exploring the captivating biomes together, sharing knowledge and insights about their worlds. They laughed, argued about theoretical concepts, and ignited a spark that flared brighter with each encounter. One evening, they found themselves at a secluded glade where flowers glowed in shades of blue and purple, permeating the air with a sweet, intoxicating fragrance. Adrian watched Elizabeth dance among the flowers, her laughter ringing soft and joyful, a sound that resonated deep within him. She was so small yet so vibrant, with an energy that seemed to animate the entire glade. As she twirled, the petals entered the air like tiny stars released from her fingertips. For the first time, Elizabeth felt free, unburdened by her insecurities. Adrian approached her, enveloping her in his arms, and she melted against his chest, feeling the warmth radiating from his body. "See? You shine like the stars, Elizabeth," he whispered against her hair, his heart hammering at the intimacy of the moment. "Adrian, she began, but the words caught in her throat. The connection between them deepened, yet a little voice in her head whispered horrible uncertainties. Would she ever be enough? As their relationship blossomed, the societal pressures weighed heavily on Elizabeth. Her family was steeped in tradition, and her mother had often spoken of the importance of marrying within their own kind. When Elizabeth confided in her sister about Adrian, she met disbelief and disappointment. "You are throwing away our customs for a fleeting human romance. Do you truly believe a human could understand our ways?" her sister exclaimed, voice rising in frustration. Elizabeth's heart sank, the conflict between her love and cultural loyalty gnawing at her. Back in her private moments with Adrian, she tried to mask her feelings. They would share intimate embraces, and when their kisses deepened, her insecurities would momentarily fade. And yet, those unspoken fears lingered just beneath the surface. With each passionate encounter, Adrian reassured her, but the hum of doubt never entirely dissipated. Elizabeth often stared into the mirror, scrutinizing herself, lost in thoughts of being too small, too different. Adrian sensed her inner turmoil but couldn't quite breach the topic without triggering her defenses. He wanted to encourage her to be proud of who she was, but every time he brought up their future, her walls rose higher. One evening, everything changed. After a particularly passionate night together, Adrian looked into Elizabeth's eyes, savoring the connection they shared. "I want to believe we can build something incredible together. I wish you could see how perfect you are." But Elizabeth, overwhelmed by her fears, pulled away. "You don't understand. I'm not built for this. What if I can't? What if I can't give you what you want?" Adrian sighed deeply, frustration etched across his face. "Elizabeth, I don't care about what you think you lack. All I want is you, the incredible, brilliant you. I am not interested in what our love looks like to others." But that night, when they parted, Elizabeth couldn't shake off the sinking feeling that he was too good to be true. Days passed, and Adrian picked up on the shift in Elizabeth's demeanor. She became distant, lost in thought while they strolled through the gardens. On a particularly starry night, she abruptly turned to him and whispered, "What if I'm pregnant?" The words hung in the air between them. Adrian's heart raced. The very notion had been a distant thought, something they hadn't dared to consider. He sensed panic rising in her eyes. You're joking?" he asked, half in disbelief. "I wish I were," she murmured. "But I could be. I never thought this could happen, given my size." Adrian stepped closer, taking her hands in his. "Let's find out. We can get a test," he insisted, determination filling his voice. It wasn't just about potential parenthood, it represented everything they built together. It was about facing the unknown as a united front. Elizabeth looked into his eyes, searching for reassurance. "What if I really am?" she whispered, trepidation welling up inside her. "Then we'll face it together. No matter what happens," he promised, his grip tightening around her hands. With a new resolve, they embarked on the path toward the test. As they prepared, Adrian reflected on how the reality of potential parenthood could either solidify their relationship or throw them into chaos. He was determined to prove to Elizabeth that love could conquer every fear and societal obstacle. Their next days were filled with a flurry of emotions, anticipation, fear, excitement, each weighing down their hearts with increasing intensity. They vowed to stay strong no matter the outcome, ready to meet whatever came their way. As the time drew closer for results, Elizabeth realized that their journey had matured into something profound, something even fear couldn't overshadow, an undeniable bond built on love, hope, and resilience. The day finally arrived for Elizabeth to take the test. The air crackled with tension as they prepared to receive the results. Adrian stood by her side, holding her hand tightly, providing a steady presence amidst the whirlwind of emotions swirling around them. "You've done everything you could. Now, just breathe," he reassured her, aware of how this moment could redefine their lives. Elizabeth nodded, but her gaze was distant, lost in her swirling thoughts. When the test results appeared, the world felt like it halted. As colored lines formed, Elizabeth's breath hitched, heart racing. The reality hit her like a thunderclap. The bright line indicating pregnancy stared back at her, undeniable and stark. I don't know what to say," Elizabeth muttered, feeling overwhelmed. Adrian could see the storm of emotions erupting behind her eyes, joy, fear, disbelief, and uncertainty all tangled into one chaotic swirl. "Elizabeth, this could be amazing," Adrian exclaimed, trying to infuse hope into the petrified air. "Think of it, an opportunity to create something beautiful together." But Elizabeth stood frozen, her heart pounding with the enormity of it all. "How can this be happening? I'm too small. I always thought." Her voice trailed off as tears filled her eyes, and she turned away. Adrian stepped forward, gently taking her shoulders and turning her toward him. "You are not too small, and your worth is not defined by how others perceive you. You have every right to embrace this possibility, to feel proud." That night, they talked deep into the hours about what parenthood could mean for them. As Adrian painted a vivid picture of a life filled with laughter, challenges, and adventures, Elizabeth felt a mixture of fear and excitement swell within her. "What if I am not cut out to be a mother?" she whispered, vulnerability dripping from her words. "What if our child doesn't accept me for who I am?" "That is something we will figure out together. You are going to be an incredible mother. Your heart is large enough to accommodate love, and that matters more than anything else," he assured her, his voice steady like a lighthouse in the storm. Adrian dedicated himself to supporting Elizabeth every step of the way, providing her comfort and assurance during the critical moments of uncertainty. They began planning for the future as parents, envisioning family adventures together, discussions of different parenting styles, and teaching their child about both human and alien cultures. As days passed, they experienced the highs and lows of the early weeks of pregnancy, Elizabeth's joy, the profound shifts in her body, and the surreality of waiting for an alien little one to join them. Along with joy, fear would often seep in. They were venturing into uncharted waters, and with that came an ever-present question: how would their families react? Finally, emboldened by their bond, Elizabeth decided to reveal the news to her family. Heart-pounding, she walked into the home she had cherished for years but now felt alien within. Her mother sat at the head of the table, eyes narrowed, unimpressed. "Elizabeth, you're back." her mother exclaimed, but soon the smile faded as she caught sight of Adrian behind her. What is he doing here? Elizabeth took a deep breath, summoning the courage she had built with Adrian's support. Mother, I have something important to tell you. I'm pregnant, and Adrian is the father. A stunned silence enveloped the room, and the air felt thick with tension. Her mother's eyes widened in disbelief, and anger contorted her features. You cannot be serious. This human? You disgrace our family and our traditions. Mother, please. Our child deserves love, and that is what Adrian and I have for each other, Elizabeth implored, her heart racing with indignation and sadness. You don't know what you're doing. You are throwing your life away for a fleeting human romance. You are turning your back on your own kind. She shouted, her voice echoing through the walls. Adrian stepped in, determined but composed. With all due respect, ma'am, I'm here to support Elizabeth and our child. We may come from different worlds, but I promise to cherish and protect them. Elizabeth's heart began to race. Adrian's words brought her strength. This baby can be a bridge between our worlds, not a barrier. I love Adrian. He accepts me, all of me, my dreams and my insecurities. He sees me as I am. Yet, her mother's disdain was palpable, the tradition of their people screaming louder than the message of love slowly growing in the room. Elizabeth's heart sank as she realized the gap that had betrayed her hopes, casting them into the shadows. Days passed in the aftershock of the confrontation. Adrian and Elizabeth leaned on each other, finding solace between the worries that clouded their hearts. Together they faced the community's whispers, chose to ignore the ridicule, and instead sought each other's comfort. As Elizabeth healed from the pain of rejection, Adrian relentlessly showered her with enthusiasm. We can create our own traditions, he encouraged her. Our love will redefine what family means. Let's inspire our child to embrace their identity, both human and Zelthian. Rebuilding their spirit sparked newfound hope. They promised to raise their child in a way that respected both cultures, combining the joyous lessons from each. With each encouraging exchange, their bond solidified around the idea of being a unit that defied societal norms. The beauty of love triumphing over prejudice resonated deeply in their hearts, weaving a tapestry of resilience that would carry them through whatever challenges lay ahead. As the day turned to dusk, Adrian held Elizabeth close, fingers intertwined in a moment of pure bliss. With her head against his chest, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. Together, they dared to believe that love could conquer all odds, no matter how far apart their worlds may seem. Weeks melted into months, and the reality of impending parenthood settled over them like a warm cloak. Elizabeth's belly began to form a tiny but unmistakable curve. As they spent more time together, she found solace in Adrian's unwavering support and encouragement, and the stubborn fears that once clouded her mind began to wane. Together, they read books about parenting, immersed themselves in discussions on cultural customs, and even began creating a nursery filled with elements from both worlds. One quiet evening, as they sat on the balcony overlooking the glowing landscape of Zelthia, the moment they had been waiting for arose. Elizabeth felt a gentle kick against her palm, her heart racing with amazement and joy. Adrian, come here. She exclaimed, excitement bubbling in her voice. Adrian rushed over, eyes wide with curiosity. She placed his hand on her belly, and they both felt it, an undeniable sign of life within her. It's happening, Elizabeth said, tears of joy glistening in her eyes. Adrian knelt beside her, eyes shining with love as they celebrated this milestone together. We are going to be parents, he whispered, leaning in to place a soft kiss on her belly. This is a miracle. Elizabeth, brimming with emotion, smiled down at him. The moment was cathartic, all fears and doubts now appeared distant. Amidst everything they had faced, this little life served as a promise, the promise of a future they could build together. However, the outside world remained a darker, less accepting place. As Elizabeth and Adrian's excitement grew, so too did the tension and trepidation about revealing the pregnancy to Elizabeth's family again. After many sleepless nights fueled by worry, Elizabeth finally summoned her courage to face her family a second time. Adrian stood with her hand in hand, projecting strength and unity. As they entered the home, Elizabeth felt her pulse quicken. Her mother was seated at the dining table, her eyes narrowing the moment she spotted them. "Elizabeth, what do you want?" her mother asked, her tone icy. With a deep breath, Elizabeth spoke. "Mother, I want you to know that we are ready to embrace this baby. I'm proud to be a mother, to honor both heritages, and I wish for you to be a part of our lives." Adrian added gently, "We'd like for you to be involved, to share in the joy of this little one. This is an opportunity for growth, for all of us." Her mother's expression betrayed nothing for an agonizing moment before she exploded into fury. "You think I'll accept this human child? You are choosing a life of shame, and I won't be part of it." Elizabeth felt the sting of her mother's words as they pierced her deeply. "No, Mother," she argued, fighting for her right to happiness. "This is not shame. It's love. This child is an opportunity to bridge our worlds." But Elizabeth's mother remained unmoved. The conversation only spiraled into deeper conflict, harsh words were exchanged, and Elizabeth felt her heart break further until there was little left to lose. Deflated but undeterred, Elizabeth returned to Adrian, who immediately enveloped her in a warm embrace. "You were brave, and I'm proud of you," he whispered, kissing her forehead tenderly. In that moment, Elizabeth felt the weight of the world lift, even if just slightly. Adrian reminded her that love against adversity was potent, and a source of unimaginable strength. They spent the next few days reflecting on the trials they had overcome, their unity tightening around them like an unbreakable bond. One afternoon, while shopping for supplies, they encountered a group of children playing in the park nearby. Elizabeth's heart soared as she watched them laugh and enjoy their time together. "Adrian, one day, that could be us," she exclaimed, her eyes lighting up. "Yes, it can," he replied, holding her hand tightly. "And when our child is here, we will create a loving environment, one filled with acceptance and creativity." The thought filled Elizabeth with hope. With each passing day, she began to envision a life built not only with love but with the nourishment of both cultures, assuring her that they would create a nurturing space for their child to thrive. As autumn approached, Elizabeth and Adrian prepared for the impending arrival of their child with renewed optimism. The nursery transformed into a cozy sanctuary adorned with plush toys, colorful fabrics, and books containing stories from both their backgrounds, a homage to the duality of heritage. The couple took long walks beneath the alien stars, sharing dreams and aspirations for their child's future. They also spoke of the beauty of their love, unshackled from prejudice, and filled with an unyielding desire to confront the world as they charted their course. One night, as they lay together beneath a blanket of stars, Elizabeth whispered, "No matter what happens, our child will know love." "Yes," Adrian replied, pulling her closer. "And we'll make sure they know they belong in both worlds, that they are extraordinary." In the solid embrace of each other, they drew strength from their love, committing to face the unknown together, determined to give their child the freedom to unify disparate worlds into one harmonious family. The day had finally come. Elizabeth's labor began at dawn, heralded by an urgency in the air that made her heart race with a mixture of excitement and fear. Adrian remained at her side, his steady presence a reassuring balm. They had prepared meticulously for this moment, but nothing could fully ready them for the imminent transformation of their lives. As they rushed to the medical facility designed for interspecies births, anxiety twisted in Elizabeth's stomach, causing her to grip Adrian's hand tightly. "What if something goes wrong?" she asked, her voice trembling with apprehension. "Nothing will go wrong," Adrian said confidently, kneeling beside her as they approached the infirmary. "You are the strongest person I know. Trust yourself and trust our bond." With those words of encouragement, Elizabeth felt a surge of determination as they entered the bright and sterile facility. Dr. Zephyra, a renowned Zelthian physician, greeted them warmly, guiding them through the process. Her gentle demeanor put Elizabeth at ease as she prepared her for labor. Hours passed, and the intense emotions surged as Elizabeth labored. Each contraction reminded her of the connection she shared with Adrian, the love that had blossomed against all odds. Their child was an embodiment of hope, a symbol of their shared journey. With each push, Elizabeth felt a profound sense of purpose, the melding of their worlds becoming tangible in those moments. With a final surge of strength, Elizabeth brought their child into the world, a vibrant, healthy mixture of both heritages. The room filled with a cacophony of sounds, cries from a new life, joy echoed throughout the space, and Adrian's sobs of relief and happiness filled the air. Dr. Zephyra placed the tiny being in Elizabeth's arms, enveloped in a bundle of soft fabrics. Elizabeth gazed down, tears streaming down her face, as she beheld the miracle they had created, a beautiful child with shimmering skin reminiscent of the stars, a delicate nose, and bright eyes that sparkled with potential. "Welcome to the world, little one," she whispered, cradling their newborn closer to her heart. In the following days, they returned to their home, where the nursery awaited like a sanctuary woven with love and anticipation. Friends from both human and Zelthian communities showered them with gifts and support, celebrating the arrival of a new life that would symbolize unity, hope, and endless possibilities. As Elizabeth cradled her baby, she recalled the insecurities that had once plagued her. No longer did she feel too small or too narrow, she now embodied a richness of purpose that only motherhood could provide. Each day she spent with Adrian, raising their child, brought fresh laughter and deeper tides of love. Their family dynamic took shape around an unwavering commitment to create a world free from prejudice. They taught their child about both cultures, the beauty in differences, the strength in love, and the importance of fostering understanding. On a balmy evening, as the three of them settled on the balcony, watching the stars twinkle brightly, Elizabeth marveled at the transformation that had taken place within her. Adrian rested an arm around her, and they beamed at the little one sleeping peacefully in their arms. "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" Adrian mused, pride swelling in his chest. "Yes," Elizabeth replied, her heart swelling with gratitude. "We've faced so much, and we've built something beautiful. This is my greatest achievement." "We'll teach them to dream big," Adrian vowed, gazing lovingly at their child. "To be proud of who they are, to embrace every part of themselves." As the stars shone above them, Elizabeth felt a sense of peace wash over her. Their love had transcended boundaries, uniting two worlds, and together they would forge a legacy of hope for the future. Hand in hand, they began to hum a soft lullaby, the melody weaving through the night air like the promise of love, a love that would grow and flourish for generations to come. In the embrace of their newfound family, Elizabeth and Adrian understood the true meaning of commitment, not merely to each other but to a vision that intertwined their lives. They had crafted a future that celebrated differences and united hearts, eager to nurture a bond that would defy norms and inspire acceptance. As the galaxies sparkled brightly around them, Elizabeth finally felt she had found her place in the universe, not too small, nor too narrow, but infinitely vast with love stretching in all directions.